Welcome back to the channel. We're playing at Capital Casino. It is our favorite place to play in the Sacramento area. They are vlogger friendly, and so I get to show you a lot of good stuff. We're playing in the 1-3 game like we normally do. It plays bigger than a regular 1-3 game. I know a lot of you say, why are you only playing 1-3? Well, sometimes this 1-3 game plays much larger. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. First hand of the day, we're in the small blind. We have about 500 in our stack. We have king, queen of spades. The person in the low jack opens for a raise to 13. Button called. I should really 3-bet this spot, but since it was early in the session, I just ended up calling. Flop ends up coming jack 10, 6 with 2 spades. So pretty good flop. I thought about leading, but decided to check to the pre-flop aggressor, and it gets checked around. So when the 10 of hearts comes on the turn, I decided to go ahead and take a stab at this. I got plenty of equity. I figured someone would have bet a jack if they had it, and someone probably would have bet a 10 if they had it also. First couple players fold, and the button takes their sweet time, but ends up laying it down. So we win this first pot, but I'm really not happy the way I played it. I think I should have 3-betted pre-flop. Here's a perfect example how not to play pocket aces. I'm under the gun, raised to 15. The player to my direct left puts in the min raise to 30. And then the player in the next seat shoves all in for $43. And it's folded back around to me, and I'm trying to figure out how to build a little side pot with the person on my left without scaring them out. And I chose a sizing of $75, which is way too small. I am giving him excellent odds to proceed. He has about 250 in his stack. I really wanted to get about a third of his chips in play, and then I thought maybe I can get the rest. I believe a better sizing would probably be closer to 100 to 120. And instead I made it just 75. So now with it, just about any pocket pair, he has again the good odds to call, and he does so. And so we're off to see a flop. We have one player all in for 133 of the main pot, and there's a $64 side pot. I'm really hoping that they get a bunch of blanks on the flop just in case he has a hand like a medium-sized pocket pair. He might call off the rest of his chips. Flop comes king, jack 4 with 2 spades. Not a great flop, but he only has, 180-ish left. So I figure if I can get 80 of it now, I can get the other 100 pretty easily. So I bet out 80, and he thinks for a little bit, but then releases his hand. And the other player who is all in is showing his neighbors his cards, and they're talking about, oh, what a good flop it was. And so I'm pretty sure I'm behind. I catch a 3 of spades on the turn, give me a flush draw out. I show my one pair, and he quickly shows king jack to take this hand down. I'm in the hijack, and there was an early position limper from an active player who I wanted to isolate. So I raised a 20 with 9-6 of clubs. Not my normal thing I do. The person directly behind me puts in the quick call for the 20. He's the same person from the previous hand who had king jack and beat my aces. Anyway, the flop comes 9-6 deuce. So I got out of line and I flopped a monster. So I lead for 30, and the player behind me just insta-jams for 500. Yeah. This is what happens in our 1-3 game. Small pot, and guy jams 500. Anyway, it's a great situation for me. I can't really put him on any kind of set. I put him on an overpair, probably aces or kings, the way he played it. I call, turn card's a 5 of diamonds, river is a jack of clubs, and he shows pocket aces. So I guess I beat his pocket aces and he beat mine, and I think I like the size of this pot better than the one I lost. The cutoff opens for 15. I flat with 2 9s on the button, and we get one more player hanging around. And we see a flop of Jack 9-7 with 2 diamonds. It gets checked over to me. This is a very wet board. I'm just going to bet and take this thing down, I hope. If I get called, I'm going to have to bet pretty big on the turn. They all pass, and I take this small pot down, but I couldn't really risk slow playing this one. Hey guys, if you can take a moment and click that like and subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell. It really does help the channel out, and I would appreciate it. After a couple limpers, I look down at ace-queen offsuit and raise 220. I get called by the cutoff. This is the person from the previous hands with the pocket aces and the 6-9 of clubs. We end up going heads up to a flop, and the flop is pretty good. It's ace 8-3 rainbow. I decided to check this to him, trying to protect my checking range a little bit. He checks it back. Turn card comes as a 3. I decided to do delayed Cbet, bet $20. I don't expect him to have too much. I'm hoping he has some sort of pocket pair that he might give a crying call with. But no draws out there. If he doesn't have anything, he's just going to muck it, and we'll move on. This is a very interesting hand. We have an early limper for 3, and then a very tight, solid regular raises to 17. I played with this player quite often. I know he has a very tight range, and I look down at 2 jacks on the button, and I just decide to flat. There's a very high likelihood that he has a big pair, or at least ace-king, ace-queen in his hand. And I decided to play this a little deceptively. Another player I would likely 3-bet, but with this player, a call is just what I want. We get a call from the small blind and from the limper, and the flop comes 10-8-4 with the 10-8 of spades. It's checked to the first limper, who bets $40. And this is a key moment in the hand. This $40 bet really helps me out because now I get to see how the original raiser reacts to it. If he has an overpair, he should raise, and probably raise to somewhere between $120 and $130. And if he has a flush draw, he just might flat, but there's a possibility he might raise. Anyway, he thinks for a moment and then raises to 100. In my mind, I put him on this range of hands: aces, kings, or queens, or possibly ace, king of spades, ace, queen of spades, maybe king, queen of spades. Out of these hands, my pocket jacks has about 18% equity, and that's not even counting the player behind me who might have flopped something even bigger. So if my opponent has an overpair and the other opponent has some sort of flush draw, pocket jacks do not look very good, and I make the discipline lay down. I feel like I'm beat here, and I think the number of outs I have is very limited. I don't even know whether a jack would be a clean out at this point. The small blind shoves all in. The first bettor makes the call. So with one player all in for the 270 main, and the other 2 players fighting over a $62 side pot, we go to see a turn card, which is, of course, a jack of diamonds. Are you kidding me? Come on. Anyway, first player checks, the next player jams. He has about 900 in his stack at the start of this hand, so he has, jams for 600. The other player only has $240 in their stack, thereabouts, and he puts in the quick call. So we're going to get to see a river. This is one of those times where I wish I didn't play good, and I could just call off and catch a dream card on the turn. But unfortunately, I think I made the right choice. River card comes as a 9 of clubs, puts a 4-liner up there, but the original raiser turned over his kings, and the kings were good. If I played bad, I think I could have won a really big pot. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Mike T, who played in the game. He is a vlog supporter. Also Jen, he was also in the game with me today. Both of them took my Dougie Doe. I tried to run a bluff against one of them, and I don't know, I think I made a bad lay down against another one. Anyway, I appreciate them coming in and saying hi to me, and if you want some of my Dougie Doe, you know where to find me. I'm under the gun with pocket tens, open for a raise to 15. Get a couple callers for the 15, and then it gets to the player at the end of the table. This is the same player who had kings on the previous hand. He decides to raise to $50. Again, this puts me in the mindset that he has a big pair. I'm not even sure whether he would raise with ace-king in this spot, but I'm pretty sure if he had aces or kings again, he would. So, but for $35 more, I'm going to go set mining. Hopefully I can flop a set. If I do, I think I can get stacks in. He does like to play his big pairs very fast, and we're looking for a good flop. We get one of the other players to put in the call, so we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. And when the flop comes, I was looking at the player. I wasn't even looking at the flop. Only thing I saw in the corner of my eye was a couple cards with a bunch of spots on it, and I'm just going, oh boy, I hope one of them is a 10. Anyway, it gets checked around to the player who was the 3-better, and he puts in a bet for $180. And I still haven't looked at the flop yet, and I go, oh boy, please let it be a 10. Let it be a 10. And I peek down, and I saw a 9 of diamonds and an 8 of clubs, and I go, oh well, there goes my set mining opportunity. And I just toss my cards in the muck and move on to the next one. This hand's a little bit crazy. There's a $10 straddle, and I'm under the gun from the straddle in middle position, and I put in the call. And then there were a series of calls by the other players, and we ended up getting 5 players calling the straddle, and it comes back around to the big blind, or the straddler I should say, and he's been running bad and a little bit tilted, and he puts in a raise for 25 more. And when he does so, I'm thinking, what kind of hands would he put a raise in like this? If he had a big pair or ace king, ace queen, he would put in a good size raise here and get, basically most of his chips in. The type of hands I really think he's doing this with are like big drawing hands, like, suited connectors, like king, queen, king, jack, king 10, queen, jack, all those ones, maybe some middling pocket pairs. But with this range, I was trying to calculate what equity my king, queen has against this particular range. And I gave him a very good range. I mean, I put him at the top of the range of what kind of hands he would do this with. And to be honest, I don't even think his range is this strong, and I'm still a 52% favorite. So my idea was that he was weaker than this, and I should get heads up with him. So with all that dead money in the pot already, and him identifying himself as someone with a weak range, and no one showing any kind of aggression pre-flop, I think this was a good opportunity to go ahead and isolate him. So I raised to 125. There were a couple players that actually went in the tank a few times. Looked like they had some tough decisions. But let's face it, anytime you get a limp re-raise from a player, you have to have some sort of alarm bells going off. And all those questionable hands that they might have, I think they're going to lay down. So after a while, they all started folding one by one until just me and the re-raiser, the straddler, were left. He has about 260 to start the hand with, so I got about half his chips in the pot already, and I'm thinking that no matter what comes on this flop, I'm calling, because basically I think my range is way ahead of his, and I'm not going to be folding to anyone who just bets. So the flop ends up being a great flop for us. It comes ace, queen, queen. He insta-jams like I expect he would if he was trying to get me off some sort of middle pocket pair that I might make the same play with. The run out was a jack of diamonds and then a ace on the end, and I'm going, oh no, he caught up with the ace, but he showed king jack offsuit, so my pre-flop read and assessment of his hand was correct. Final hand of the day, I looked down at ace king offsuit from the cutoff. I put in a raise. I get a caller from the player on my left. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. The player on my left called, the player on my right called. Flop comes king, 4, deuce with 2 spades. It's checked to me. I bet 20 and I get a quick call from the player behind me. The other player folds out. Turn card is a 3 of clubs. At this point I decide to check it to protect my checking range after a Cbet. And he bets $45. This seems awfully fair to me. I think I got him in a bad spot right now. I just put in the call for the 45. I'm not expecting him to have anything better than this. He might be just taking a stab at it. He might even have a flush draw and decide to bet it, or maybe he thinks I have a flush draw and he's trying to steal. River card comes as a 9 of hearts. I thought about leading here, but I decided to check just in case he wants to bet a flush draw. He checks it back rather quickly. I show my ace king. He later told me that he had a small pocket pair. Zeus has decided to take some time off from the vlog. His new passion is waiting for the kids to get back from school. He sits at the front door basically all day long. Now that school's back in session here in California full time, the kids are gone and he's very lonely. So he just sits by the door waiting for their return. And it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. Thanks again for watching. We have our totals for today. Always appreciate your support. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It really does help out the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, run good at the tables.